We thought this team might have caught a little bit of a spark, but nope, we were wrong because this team cannot hit with runners in scoring position.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Welcome back. I'm Braden Iwasco. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Braden5Iwasco, Carter First 2, as well on Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Blue Jays. Drop a subscription if you're new here on YouTube. We noticed that about 70% of you guys aren't subscribed, so it really helps us out and keeps us to the top of your page. Lets you guys get all of the up-to-date Blue Jays news. Hey, Carter, I just want to hop right into it, honestly. This team just can't score runs, and don't get me wrong, the home runs today in the last couple of games have been nice. We got two. We got one from JT today, Justin Turner, that is, and then one from Davis Schneider. But just as sort of overall, this team just can't hit with runners in scoring position, and it is getting so painful to watch when we have runners on first and third, and you can pretty much turn the TV off. You just know those guys aren't scoring.
Yeah, see, I know we talked about this a little bit off camera, but you just had a series where Addison Barger looked very good. Spencer Horwitz has been raking for the Toronto Blue Jays team, and I know you have to play some of these players. You can't leave Kevin Kiermaier, Justin Turner, George Springer, these guys on the bench all the time. But I'm at the point where I just want to see the young guys play. I'm sick of these old guys in this lineup, albeit Justin Turner had a great day today. But I want to see Addison Barger playing pretty much every single game. I've talked to you about this off camera. Like I said, I want Spencer Horwitz. He has been the best hitter on this team in the last probably 2 weeks, and they decided to not play him, not have him in the leadoff spot. Obviously, I noticed it right away. Like Davis Schneider, again, has been struggling a little bit. I definitely want him to be in the lineup all the time as well. But I think Spencer Horwitz has been so good as a lefty bat in that leadoff spot. I'm not sure why John Schneider decides to drop this or not even play this guy in this ballgame here. And George Springer, man, I know we're going to talk about it all the time, but why is this guy hitting in the 6th spot? Like, he was hitting in the 5 spot a couple days ago. I'm not sure why John Schneider keeps bringing this guy back up in the order. He's having some of the worst at-bats I've ever seen. He had a single today, but that was off a broken bat. He honestly got beat by the pitch, just kind of muscled it out there. Got fairly lucky, but I mean, I guess we'll take it. We'll take any sort of production from George Springer at this point. But with this lineup construction, again, I know you, like I said, you have to be playing these guys, but I want to see Spencer Horwitz and Addison Barger way more than I want to see a Kevin Kiermaier at-bat and a George Springer at-bat.
Yeah, I got two things here. So the Score app put out a sort of overview of the Toronto Blue Jays, and I didn't want to go too in-depth into it, but sort of what you said about Horwitz and Springer and Schneider, this team seemed like it found their one-hole hitter. And that's Spencer Horwitz. He was doing a great job with it. And then we go away from that, and don't get me wrong, I love Davis Schneider hitting up in the order, but I think he's a great two-bat. I think he has chances to drive in runs. I think he gives Spencer Horwitz more at-bats leading off. He seems to be able to get on base. He's the guy that should be leading off for this team, and it doesn't really seem like anybody should be questioning that. He's proven it so far when he's been with this team. And don't get me wrong, guy can fall off. He's only been with this team for a small amount of time so far. But as of right now, ride the hot hand, do it, put him in there. I really don't understand why we went away from them. Don't get me wrong, guys need off days. They're maybe trying to just play it a little bit slow with these new guys from AAA. I don't know why, but I'm assuming that's the thought process here. And then, yeah, just going back sort of on Justin Turner and your thought of why does John Schneider keep going back to guys like George Springer and Justin Turner? And as great as it was that Justin Turner had a good game, I think this just puts it in the head of John Schneider that, oh, these guys are going to come back eventually. We just got to keep playing them. And that's a problem because I don't see George Springer making a comeback whatsoever. I think he is just what he is. And yeah, Justin Turner, maybe he finds something. I don't know. He's very hot and cold. He's sort of been a little bit like that his whole career. Just a very, I don't want to say streaky, but he goes on a very, very hot stretch. Then he cools off. Then he picks it back up. Then he cools off. So streaky is probably not the right word, but something like that. And it just isn't doing the right thing to John Schneider's, I think, mindset around putting George Springer and Justin Turner consistently in these ball games. Because I'd be much happier with Horwitz playing, even Vladdy DHing or Horwitz DHing, either way. And then you have Barger, Davis, and all these guys in the lineup. And maybe you move away from Springer and you put Davis out there, and then that fills another spot where you can keep Ernie in the lineup, who's been hitting really well as well.
Yeah, like there's a bunch of things that I want to get into based off what you said there, but I'll start with this one because you talked about the young guys compared to Justin Turner. Addison Barger has one of the highest bat speeds on the Toronto Blue Jays. You see it in his swing. This guy is swinging so goddamn hard. I love to see his swing. He's launching balls in the outfield at very hard rates. I think he hit one that was over 110 miles per hour in that last game against the Cleveland Guardians. But looking at bat speed, comparing these two, Justin Turner has some of the slowest bat speed in the entire league. Like Justin Turner is among guys like Stephen Kwan, albeit Stephen Kwan is ridiculous. He has great bat to ball skills. Justin Turner's not nearly like that at all. But Luis Urias has the lowest bat speed on this list I have here at 62.6 miles per hour. Then it's Nicky Lopez, then Stephen Kwan, and Justin Turner at 65.2. So just looking at these bat speeds, obviously it is a lot more helpful if you have a high bat speed. You're going to hit for more power. You're going to be able to hit more home runs, more doubles, which this team desperately needs. But again, I'm going to compare Spencer Horwitz's stats, and then I'm going to go into George Springer, Justin Turner, and Kevin Kiermaier from May 1st on until up to the date we are at right now. So again, Spencer Horwitz, a very small sample size here, but we always talk about on this podcast, ride the hot hand. So that's why I'm so pissed off that this Toronto Blue Jays team and John Schneider just refuses to play the guys that are hot in this lineup, and they rather have George Springer, who's hitting below 200 for some reason in this lineup over a guy like Spencer Horwitz. But saying that, since Spencer Horwitz has been called up, I got this from Blue Jays Muse. He has 27 at 3 RBIs, 5 strikeouts, 4 walks for an average of 333, a 419 on base percentage, and a 128 WRC plus. You want your leadoff guy to get on base, and that's what Spencer Horwitz is doing. A 419 on base percentage is definitely going to play, especially when you're comparing it to a lot of other guys on this baseball team. Again, small sample size, but ride the hot hand. Spencer Horwitz has been raking in AAA. He's been raking in the MLB. So keep this guy on the field. Let your best players play. I'm going to relate this to George Springer, Justin Turner, and Kevin Kiermaier, like I said. So this is all, it's a tweet from Marshall Zach, and I have George Springer. I'll start with him. So since May 1st, George Springer is hitting 183 with a 284 on base percentage and a 256 slugging. Since May 1st, Justin Turner is hitting 160 with a 258 on base and a 198 slugging. Kevin Kiermaier, since May 1st, is hitting 197, 239 on base percentage, and a 379 slugging. Like, these numbers just aren't good. And it's simple. You can see it with your eyes. You can see it with the analytics. Clearly, these young guys are a lot more fun to watch. I really enjoyed watching that Cleveland Guardians series, seeing Ernie Clement raking, seeing Davis Schneider, Spencer Horwitz, Addison Barger, obviously in that last game as well. And then watching today's game, I was just depressed, to be honest, because, I mean, we'll get into Kikuchi later as well, probably coming up here next. But you get down early in the game, and then you got to watch these old farts try to swing a ball or swing a bat and try to get hits off Nick Pivetta, who Canadian. That's awesome. But again, I don't think Nick Pivetta is that good. He's having a decent year. But I think this is a team that should have been able to get more hits off Nick Pivetta. Not necessarily more hits, just like you said, hit with runners in scoring position, hit with 2 outs. And this team just continues to not be able to do that. But again, it's a lot more fun of a brand of baseball to watch when you have young guys that actually do have promising futures and are not in their primes yet, compared to Justin Turner, who's 39 years old, albeit had a great game, George Springer, who just looks terrible, and then Kevin Kiermaier, who is at this point in his career a defensive specialist.
Yeah, and going on to Kevin Kiermaier here, he's worse to watch for me than anybody. His at-bats
even
are
than
horrible.
George Springer?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. George Springer's worse because you know the potential that he has, quote unquote, has. But Kevin Kiermaier is just horrible at the plate. It is disgustingly just like bad. I actually just want to look away when he's at the plate. It's horrible. But Carter, like, we talk about guys with, hitting with runners in scoring position, and that's the big thing. That's the big piece. Daulton Varsho right now leads the Toronto Blue Jays with runners in scoring position. So, if the score is within 1, and this is from the broadcast today, if the score is within 1 run, he's had 115 plate appearances. His OPS is 996. With runners on, he's had 111 plate appearances, OPS of 925. With 2 outs and runners in scoring position, Take a guess what it is. Take a wild guess.
Are we doing OPS or batting average here?
OPS.
Well, just since I'm going to continue the trend here, it's probably around 1,000. So I'll go like 1,020.
1,213.
Yeah, that will play. That's a stat that you love to see as a Toronto Blue Jays fan for a team that struggles so badly in that department.
Yeah, and that's the problem, right? There's one guy doing this. Like it's just mind-boggling that you have guys who are starting to show promise in Horwitz, Barger, Ernie, Davis. We can go back till last year and just the stupidity. And I know we keep going back to John Schneider, and it's not all John Schneider's fault. These guys have to play better. But you have these guys sitting on your bench and you're losing a baseball game. Put them in. Try to get something started. I don't know. Why are they sitting on the bench in the first place right now? Oh, it is frustrating. This was a frustrating game to watch. Me and you sitting on the couch watching today's game, or yesterday's game, when you guys listen to this, I was just uninterested, to be honest with you. Guys that I don't want to watch play baseball were playing baseball, and in the back of my head, knowing that the guys I want to see are sitting on the bench, I don't know.
Yeah, for a Monday baseball game, like for me on Mondays, I'm always tired. So then watching this game, it literally put me to sleep after Rafael Devers hit a sacrifice fly. Again, at that point, the game was 7-2. I sort of knew the game was over. I did not missing the Davis Schneider home run, but I watched the highlights of that. So I didn't watch the 8th or 9th inning, but clearly I didn't miss anything because this game was set in stone. When you have Nick Pivetta pitching 7 innings against the Toronto Blue Jays team, obviously that's a problem. You got to get these starting pitchers, especially early on in a series. But, I mean, to be fair, the Boston Red Sox bullpen is also very good as well. This team has surprisingly good pitching. Like, you look at this team on paper, Nick Pivetta, Brian Bayo, Tanner Houck. If I'm saying that right, I think I finally learned how to say that guy's name. He's been so good, a 2.09 ERA. We got him, obviously, for today's game. So a lot of good pitchers on this team. And these old guys just aren't hitting baseballs, and it's been the most obvious thing of all time. Again, we'll get into Justin Turner right after this, and then I want to shout out again Ernie Clement. This guy just continues to rake, and at least John Schneider didn't take Ernie Clement out of the lineup. Just looking at his stat line today, another 3-for-4 day from Ernie Clement. This guy's hot. This is another Buffalo boy that is hot. At this point, you know what? Screw it. Put Ernie Clement at first or second. He's just raking baseballs. But also, I guess another spin zone you could say is he's batting very well in the 8th spot. Maybe you don't switch anything. Maybe Ernie Clement loves the 8th spot. You don't want to switch that up too much. And he's coming up in big spots usually. Unfortunately, though, for today's game, it just seemed like nobody was ever on for Ernie Clement, or he was coming up with 2 outs. Never a time where Ernie Clement could actually get around the bases, especially with Kevin Kiermaier right behind him. But yeah, it was just a boring brand of baseball to watch today, especially with Yesui Kikuchi struggles and his a million solo home runs given up in this start.
Yeah, I think let's get into Yusei Kikuchi a little bit because this was disappointing, to say the absolute least. It was pretty brutal. He goes 4 innings, gives up 7 hits, 5 runs. He did get 7 strikeouts. So when he wasn't giving up home runs, he was striking guys out. He also gave up 4 home runs today, which was insane. I think, what did he have, 7 all year so far given up?
Yeah, he had 7 home runs given up and then gave up 4 in the exact same game. I know last year they brought a stat up on the broadcast is that Yusei Kikuchi did pitch horribly against the Boston Red Sox. I don't know what his problem is with the Red Sox. I don't think this team is that good, to be honest. Like Tyler O'Neill, again, another Canadian, that is cool, but Rafael Devers is obviously unbelievable. There's a couple guys on this team that can hit, but when you're giving up a home run to Rafaela, like this guy, again, he's one of the best 9-hitters in baseball, but I think a guy that's playing a little bit out of his shoes. I don't think he's actually going to keep up these stats for the entire year. But yeah, as we were watching the game, obviously you get those 2 solo shots in the first inning. We're like, they're solo shots. They can't really hurt you. When you give up 4 solo shots, unfortunately, it's going to start hurting you, especially with the Toronto Blue Jays offense that has shown time and time again they cannot score runs. And yeah, you say Yusei Kikuchi got 7 strikeouts. I don't really care because he gave up a million home runs, and they weren't just like wall scrapers either. These things were launched. Every single one was over 400 feet. I don't know what his problem was necessarily today. I think there was a couple home runs. One of them to Tyler O'Neill was literally a meatball right down the middle. Yeah. But that Rafael Devers swing, that was an outside fastball. Just Rafael Devers is a very good hitter. So again, you gotta give him a break in some sense. But again, Yusei Kikuchi today, when you go down 2-0 in the first inning, it's not really a good thing for an offense that's struggling. And as we say on this podcast, we want our starting pitchers to give this Toronto Blue Jays team a chance to win. I don't really think Yusei Kikuchi did that today, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's brutal. And so I don't know what was going on at the ballpark today. It was like balls were leaving the yard left, right, and center. I mean, 6 total home runs. And this Blue Jays team doesn't hit a ton of home runs. So when you give up 2 home runs to the Blue Jays, plus 4 of the Red Sox getting home runs, I don't know. Maybe they said it was warmer than it has been. So maybe that had some effect on what's going on. Maybe guys are a little bit looser. I don't know what it was. But it was just weird. It was like, I think it was one of the Tyler O'Neill home runs looked like a fly ball. And I think Buck said it too on the broadcast, where it was just like, did anybody expect that to leave? And then it's just gone. And I was sort of shell shocked a little bit that it left the ballpark, but cool, I guess, to see home runs in a Blue Jays baseball game. It's just too bad there wasn't 4 for us and only 2 for them. But no, overall, I mean, just sort of not a great outing. I mean, the team got 10 hits. So it's not like the guys weren't hitting. It's just they weren't hitting in big situations. We got so much more to get into, Carter. And I mean, again, we get started and we just start, we just start throwing it around here and 16 minutes and 30 seconds later, and now we're hitting a break. Anyway, we're going to take this quick break. We'll be right back, and we'll talk some more Blue Jays baseball. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. You guys know how much we here at Locked On Blue Jays love the Game Time app. When we went to Toronto, we pretty much booked all 3 games through Game Time because they had zone deals, flash deals, and they show you the price right up front, which is a huge component for us. We wanted to know how much we were spending on a trip because, we don't want to be throwing money down the drain and paying for super expensive tickets. But the good thing with Game Time is we didn't ever have to buy super expensive tickets because we utilized the zone deals and the flash deals. Also, the view from the seat was awesome. We sat all around the ballpark. It was unbelievable because we got to sit, I think it was in home run territory, down the first baseline, down the third baseline. It was great. And Game Time made all of that possible. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets and use code LOCKEDONMLB. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Like I said, download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
Get supplies from the site that's made for skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com is the most reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop in a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get you a competitive edge by joining supplyhouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to dedicated phone lines, free shipping, and discounts on every order. So you can join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from the free membership at supplyhouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com.
All right, Carter. I mean, I feel like we could talk for hours just on the downside of this team, but I know we talk about this guy all the time. And of course, that's Ernie Clement and just how great he's been over the past bunch of games, Carter. Do you want to just hop right into what he's been doing over the past, or over the season sort of as a whole right now, actually?
Yeah, so now after that 3-4 day from Ernie Clement, this guy's hitting 280 on the season, 3 home runs, 11 RBIs with an OPS of 732. And I might just do a daily update on Ernie Clement at this point because he just continues to rake and the stats just only keep getting better. So over his last 15, I'll start with here. He's hitting 371 with a 389 OBP and a slugging of 600. And the last 7 stats are absolutely ridiculous. This guy's just on a different planet right now. He is 9 for 13. 1 home run, 2 RBIs. That's an average of 692 with an on base of also 692 and a slugging of 1,154. Like, it's just absolutely insane. We say ride the hot hand. If Ernie Clement is not in the lineup for the rest of this Boston Red Sox series, we might have to riot. We might have to storm the Rogers Center, get John Schneider completely out of there. Something's going to have to change because Ernie Clement is on fire and I need to see this guy have at-bats. Absolutely insanity from Ernie Clement. And albeit, you gotta play your older guys. But when Ernie Clement's raking, when Spencer Horwitz is raking, when Addison Barger has been raking, I want to watch the Buffalo boys go at it. I want to watch these young guns hit the ball hard, get base hits, get extra base hits, the whole 9 yards. And I think this also comes from a spot where I'm just completely sick of watching George Springer play baseball.
Yeah, and I know we keep going back to George Springer and Kevin Kiermaier and Justin Turner outside of today. But these guys just aren't fun to watch when you've been seeing them do the same thing the entire season. It gets very, very frustrating. And I don't know, as Blue Jays fans as a whole, if I've ever seen a fan like this fan base this upset. Even when we went through that sort of dry stretch after 2016, I mean, the fan base wasn't like this. I think it's because we were promised so much. And I think after the 2016 season, we knew, okay, this is the end, right? This is it. We got to rebuild. We're going to wait for our young guys. We don't really see a future right now. And I think that's a huge problem for this team and for the fan base is that we don't know what the next step or the next couple steps from this organization will be. And that's pretty sad because we have the eighth highest payroll in the entirety of the league. And to not have a clue, your fan base to not have a single ounce of a clue of where this franchise is headed, I don't know, Carter. To me, that's just pretty disgusting.
Yeah, it's definitely not great. It's not a good feeling to have when this team is supposed to be so good on paper. This offense is supposed to be at least better than it is right now. And it's just simply not happening. And I'm going to kind of leave it at this with George Springer. I wouldn't have as big of a problem with this if you just allowed guys like IKF, who has been hitting, Ernie Clement, who has been hitting, again, Addison Barger, I'll throw these guys in there again, Spencer Horwitz, whatever it is. George Springer should not be hitting six in this lineup. He shouldn't honestly even be in the lineup, but I get it. It's George Springer. You're paying him $25 million a year. If it was up to me, I wouldn't even have George Springer playing. I don't care how much he's getting paid. I want to see the best players, the guys that are having the best at-bats, hitting the most often. So with George Springer, he keeps getting thrown into our kind of like perspective here and our eyesight because he's always hitting higher up in the order. And George Springer will go 0 for 4 and be the only guy that will somehow be hitting 5 the next day when you have Ernie Clement going 3 for 4 and he's debatably not even going to be in the game. So I'm going to leave it at that. And also I'm going to just, again, shout out to this guy, Trevor Richards, man. Silver Fox just continues to keep doing it again. Another 2 innings, 1K, 1 walk, just a ERA of 2.92 now on the season. And then I'm going to spin zone this to a negative way. And then we're going to get into some other stuff here. But Tim Meza, man, this guy he's terrible. I'm going to be honest. He's terrible.
He sucks. Carter, my problem right now is we come on this podcast every single day and we talk about the same guys because nothing is changing. How are we seeing this and the fan base seeing this and nothing changing? Don't get me wrong. The bullpen is depleted. There's lots of injuries. I don't know what a better option is right now. I don't know if there's a ton of better options. But, like, what are we going to do? We're just going to roll out Tim Meza every day and hope to God that he can figure it out? That can't be our option.
Yeah, Tim Meza throwing 91 is just never going to play. Like 91 is pretty much batting practice for a lot of these teams. For his sinker, it's not moving nearly as much as it did in previous years. Tim Meza is a completely different pitcher when he's throwing 94, maybe even 95, touching on the radar gun. When he's throwing 91, it's not going to play ever, to be honest. It's kind of we're in a weird spot where Brendan Little might be the best left-handed pitcher on this team. And I know I said, I think in the last week's episode, he was one of the least confident relievers I had on this Blue Jays team. But after what he's been doing these last couple of weeks and just how bad Tim Mays has been, Henny Cabrera, I kind of know where Henny Cabrera is at this point. But at this point, with how depleted the bullpen is, like you were saying, we might have to throw Brendan Little as like our seventh inning guy. It's absolutely crazy where we're at. I think Trevor Richards goes 8th, and then you get Chad Green as your closer for the time being. This bullpen's not in a great spot, and good thing that Nate Pearson and Zach Pop are being serviceable. Brendan Little, again, being serviceable. Probably can give him more credit than that, but this bullpen's in a rough spot, and when your starters only go 4 innings, usually that is a problem because you're going to have to rely on your bullpen a lot more, and that means Tim Mays is going to have to pitch. Henny Cabrera is going to have to pitch. These pitchers are going to have to be used, so it's kind of tough for us as Toronto Blue Jays fans. But this is something I want to get into. Again, I wish I could go into more positive note, but I really can't. So one thing that I just wanted to compare to, again, we're going back to 2021, the glory days, it seems like at this point. In 2021, the Toronto Blue Jays had 7 players that had 20 or more home runs. This year, there is 1 player that is on pace to have 20 or more home runs. And that is Daulton Varsho. And it's not like he's hitting 40. He's going to be hitting, he's on pace to hit about 25. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is on pace to hit 16 home runs. That's just not going to play. And you look at it in this game, you get the Boston Red Sox, they hit 4 home runs. Toronto Blue Jays, a huge problem has been this team's ability to hit extra base hits. So I went into a little bit of a deep dive here, just comparing the Boston Red Sox, who I think their offense is pretty mid, to be honest. I don't think anyone would have a problem with me saying that. Is it better than the Toronto Blue Jays? Absolutely it is. Everyone's offense pretty much is better than the Toronto Blue Jays. But looking at the Toronto Blue Jays compared to the Boston Red Sox, and this is not including today's game, the Toronto Blue Jays have 117 doubles, 9 triples, and 58 home runs for a total of 184 extra base hits. 58 home runs, that's tied for third last in the league. The only teams that are lower than us right now are the Tampa Bay Rays, who just have a ton of injuries, not a great offense to begin with, and the Miami Marlins, who might be one of the worst franchises I've seen in a very long time. And you're looking at, like in doubles, we're 10th, I guess, whatever, but we're 25th in the league in runs. It's just, again, it's a lot easier to score runs when you're hitting the long ball. Looking at the Boston Red Sox, they got 130 doubles, 21 triples, and 74 home runs for 225 extra base hits. That's a lot more extra base hits in a 70 game sample size here. Like Toronto Blue Jays, they need more power so desperately. When you got 22 home runs in 2021 from Randall Grichuk, you can't get 20 home runs from Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in the year of 2024. I just thought that was absolutely insane. You're not going to be able to do anything in the playoffs, anything honestly in the regular season, if you're only having one player be on pace for 20 home runs. Again, Davis Schneider can get there. Maybe Vladimir Guerrero Jr. turns it around and can get there. But again, that's not really the point of this. The point of this, the Toronto Blue Jays offense, in simple terms, is just not good.
No, I mean, I don't know. Again, do we need even stats to say that? Like, you should be able to watch the game and realize this sucks. I don't know, Carter. You know what? I come on here and I say I don't know. Because I watch this team and I touched on this earlier. I don't know what the fix is. Your fix right now is using our AAA team. That's the fix. And is that a fix that's going to take you to the postseason? Maybe. Is it going to win you a World Series? Absolutely not. That's what I mean. I think the hope of Blue Jays fans right now are completely thrown out the window, into a trash bin, incinerated, spit back out, and dumped in the ocean at this point. It's just not there. And I'm getting so fed up. And honestly, it is nice having this podcast and be able to hear from people. A lot of people come up to us now, even if we go to the bar or whatever, talking about Blue Jays, and just in general, they sort of feel like it's their place to vent. And I totally understand. And they come up to us and want some, for us to tell them something different or something that they don't know. But it's like, if you're watching this team, it's there. It's on the screen. That's what you're given. You look at the stats and it tells you the same story. I'm usually saying that stats don't tell the whole picture. The stats in the eye test are telling you that this team sucks. And I hate to say that, since we're only a few games back of 500 and sort of still in the hunt for a wild card spot. I'm just mind blown that we're even close, to be honest with you, after watching these games.
No, it definitely doesn't feel like we're only 2 games under 500. And you said the team sucks, and some aspects of the team sucks. I want to rephrase that. I think the starting pitching's fine, obviously. Again, Yesui Kikuchi, tough start, but you need better offense, you need a better bullpen. And just looking at this power predicament we have here, there's really 3 options that you have on the Toronto Blue Jays. It's either the players on the team right now just start hitting better, which, I mean, you'd think would be the easiest one, but I think that's the most unlikely from what we've seen in the first 72 games, whatever it is. You look in the system, so you go to AAA. I mean, the only one you really have there is Aurelvis Martinez that hits for power. He has 16 home runs. That's 5 more than Daulton Varsho has. So definitely an option there. He's in 260 on the season, 46 RBIs, and 866 OPS. From what we've seen from these Buffalo guys, it has worked. So, I mean, the problem here is that, are you going to give Aurelvis Martinez the playing time that he desperately needs to continue his career and help him develop as a prospect? Knowing John Schneider, probably not. So, again, that's something you got to play with. And then the other option would be you look outside of the organization. I know we've been linked to Luis Robert Jr. He's not having the greatest season by any means, but again, he's been injured. He's only had 70 at-bats. He has 7 home runs, though, and his 70 at-bats, that's pretty good. If you can home run every 10 at-bats, that's going to play pretty well for you. And going back to the Toronto Blue Jays team, if we're going to fix this internally with the players we have on the team right now, I think in 2021, what we were seeing a lot of was pull side home runs. And ever since we started this narrative where we want to start going opposite field, we want to start playing to the bigger part of the ballpark. Just look at today. Justin Turner hits a home run. It's a pull side home run. Daulton Varsho has the most home runs on this team, and he hits the ball pull side 50% of the time. The best way to hit home runs is to hit pull side in the air fly balls. And I think that's something that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has gotten away from. You look at Danny Jansen. What does he do very well? He pulls the ball well and hits for power very well. He can hit gaps. He can hit home runs. Davis Schneider usually pulls side home runs. He can kind of spray it all over the ballpark. Ernie Clement in the last game of the Cleveland Guardians series, he hits a pull side home run. So I guess, again, this is a lot easier said than done. You can't just go up there and just like hit a pull side home run and just like, oh, just move on with our day. Let's just do this 4 times. And yeah, it's saying this is a lot easier than actually doing it on the field. But this could be an approach problem, or this could just be a skill problem on the Toronto Blue Jays. They just don't have enough power to compete with some of these really good teams.
Well, and just going back on what you were talking about of pull side being the strong side, everybody should always know that it's from when you're a kid. That's probably where you're going to generate most of your power from. Just go back to a little bit of the fundamentals. I saw, I wish I had a graphic for this, but Daulton Varsho, it showed all of his extra base hits, and every single one of them but 2 were pull side. And the one was like it went down.
It was like a bloop single or bloop double to the left field line there. I think he has 28 extra base hits, and that would mean 26 of them are pull side. So I mean, that just simply says it right there. If you can hit pull side and you can do it effectively, that's going to be one of the best ways to hit for power on this. Just in the MLB in general, any baseball player out there at any level, you're probably going to generate most of your power from hitting pull side.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, when Bo Bichette is on and being Bo Bichette, he can absolutely slash as many as he wants to the opposite field. But when you're struggling, go back to the fundamentals. That's any sport ever. That's what they tell you to. When things aren't going your way and you just seem to can't get out of that rut, go back to the fundamentals. Just work on the basic things, and you rely on your basic just fundamentals, and it seems to work. And look at Justin Turner today. I mean, that's exactly what he did, and it went well for him. So he said, I think it was in an interview with, I think he was talking to Dan Schulman, I believe, 2 days ago, was that, he didn't really know what was wrong right now. But he likes to try to figure it out. He's still having fun figuring it out. I don't agree with that. Just go back and try. Like, what do you mean you don't know what's wrong? Like, yeah, but sometimes part of it you don't really understand. But to go from not being able to hit a baseball to getting a double and a home run today, obviously you figured something out. Obviously you went back to, okay, let me shorten the swing. The fundamentals. Let me shorten the swing. Let me try to pull the ball. That's all there is, really. Just go back to when you were a kid swinging the bat. Just try to hit the ball hard down the line. That's it.
Well, I mean, looking at Justin Turner's hits today, pull side double, pull side home run. You look at Ernie Clement, he's raking right now. What's he doing? He's hitting pull side down the line. You look at IKF when he made that swing change, went to the toe tap. What was he doing? A lot of hitting pull side. Again, I don't think we're Albert Einsteins for this take here. I just think it's fairly obvious if you've been watching Blue Jays baseball, you're watching baseball in general, or just played baseball at any point in your life. It's going to be a lot easier to generate power from the pull side. If that's something the Toronto Blue Jays could at least try to start doing, maybe we see a little bit more of it. Maybe just even a change in approach. Something's obviously has to change, but we've been saying this for 72 games of the season. I don't know if, again, we might just be delusional at this point, and there might not be any changes coming up. But we still have a ton to talk about. Obviously, we didn't talk about Daniel Vogelbach yet, the Bo Bichette injury. There's a lot. Yariel Rodriguez just being a beauty down in AAA. So we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff coming up in this third segment here. It's just going to be a bunch of kind of just catch up information if we didn't get to anything, obviously, over the weekend. As we always say, there's so much to talk about over a weekend series. So we're going to kind of use this third segment to wrap some things up in that perspective. But before we do head over to that, I wanted to just give a shout out one more time, Locked On 24/7 streaming channel, Locked On Sports Today, or the Amazon Fire TV's channel app, whether you're into the Stanley Cup Finals, the NBA Finals. I think there's soccer going on. I'm not sure if they cover that over there. I don't think so, but maybe just in passing they might. MLB, obviously, pretty much any sport you can think of other than, I guess, soccer, this big soccer tournament that's going on. You can get expert analysis over there. But yeah, we're going to get into pretty much anything related to Toronto Blue Jays baseball coming up in this next segment. Today's episode is sponsored by Prize Picks. I've watched pretty much every Toronto Blue Jays game up to this point, and when I watch the game with my friends, we always find ourselves predicting the next outcome in at bats, whether it's a strikeout, a home run, a hit, or a double play in a big situation, which as Blue Jays fans, we're pretty accustomed to. But we always make these little wagers. And Prize Picks gives me the opportunity not to just prove myself to my friends, but make a little bit of money off my picks. So don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond into your Prize Picks entries, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, first inning runs. Take your pick of more than or less than and add them to your Prize Picks entries today. Prize Picks is very simple to play. I can make my picks and submit my entry in as little as 60 seconds. If you know which players are going to perform on specific nights, this is a no-brainer. Download Prize Picks and start making your picks today. So you can download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit matchup to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit matchup to $100.
Yeah, Carter, a lot of information. I think let's start with maybe that something that got a little bit of head turns to my direction the other day. Daniel Vogelback gets DFA'd. I put out a TikTok. There was some people loved it. Some people actually, I'm not going to say some people. One person got really upset, and I thought it was the funniest thing, Carter. I know it is too bad. I honestly, I think Daniel Vogelback was a great guy in the dugout. I think he was having fun. He's part of the boys. Uh, but honest to God, I think it was about good riddance. He wasn't doing anything really productive for this ball club. And I mean, if we wanted to bring up some of the young guys, like we always talk about bringing up these young guys in Addison Barger and Spencer Horwitz, somebody needed to move. And it just seemed like he was the most likely. He doesn't play a position. He only DHs. He's slow as anybody could almost be. It doesn't make much sense for this team, especially when Daniel Vogelback isn't hitting home runs.
Oh yeah, you had an OPS of like 580. I know it's tough when you're not playing every single day. You're pretty much playing once or twice a week. But looking at Daniel Vogelback, the Toronto Blue Jays are now missing their best chirper that they have on the bench. Unfortunately, they lose that, like you said in your TikTok, kind of just a shot at Daniel Vogelback. But the Toronto economy might suffer a little bit from this move as well. But you look at Addison Barger, just the upside is way higher with Addison Barger. Obviously, you saw him steal a base. Daniel Vogelback is just never going to steal a base for the Toronto Blue Jays team. Addison Barger had a multi-hit game. But saying that, we got to give Daniel Vogelback some credit here. We saw it in person. Daniel Vogelback legacy game against the Tampa Bay Rays almost hit for the cycle. So he did have some good moments on his Toronto Blue Jays team. Always was fun to watch him play baseball. But yeah, as in Barger, you have so much more upside. You need a little bit more speed on the base paths because Daniel Vogelback is the definition of station to station when the ball is just put in play. When you're not hitting home runs at Daniel Vogelback's size and speed, it's going to be tough to be effective on a baseball team.
Yeah, and we sort of do got to give him his flower. I don't want to say his flowers, but a little tip of the hat to him. He was brought in on a minor league deal. I mean, it wasn't supposed to be anything crazy.
Yeah, if you thought Daniel Vogelback was going to be the changing factor on this offense, then you are just even more delusional than we are.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to start kind of rounding stuff off because we have just a ton to talk about.
Yeah.
So the man, the myth, the legend, is he real? Is he not? A guy that has just been lost since the start of the Toronto Blue Jays season. We finally have an update on Joey Votto, and he has been transferred to the Florida Complex League for a rehab assignment. He actually played his first game today, went 0 for 2 with the sac fly. I mean, that's he hasn't played baseball in like 3 months. He's just enjoying vacation, I guess. So it's nice that we have Joey Votto finally just doing something that is related to baseball. So that is pretty cool. One other thing that isn't as cool is Yimi Garcia, obviously hurt. Did get some good news. It's no structural damage, nothing too crazy, but he is on the 15-day IL, and I'm going to try to pronounce this. It's going to be fun. Right elbow ulnar neuritis. There you go. I think I said that pretty well. Brandon Eisert, selected to the Major League team, did pitch today, had 2 innings of relief, looked pretty good. This bullpen is just, it's going through it, man. You don't have Romano, you don't have Swanson, you don't have Yimi. Those are 3 huge pieces for a Toronto Blue Jays bullpen. Good thing Trevor Richards has been so good. Good thing we have Chad Green still. But you're going to need some guys to pick up the slack. Zach Pop types, the Brendan Littles, the Nate Pearsons. Those type of guys are going to need down the stretch, especially with all these injuries.
Yeah, and I mean, I was going to bring this up earlier, Carter, and maybe this is a question that me and you maybe have to take a little bit more time into. Do you think that there's any chance that we see Eric Swanson again coming up with this Toronto Blue Jays team?
I think they're probably going to leave him in AAA until the All-Star game. I think they're going to give him more than enough time to figure it out. But I definitely think where you are going to see Eric Swanson before this season is up. But again, if you have Nate Pearson, Zach Pop, Brendan Little, these guys pitching well, that's just more of a reason not to rush Eric Swanson back up to the major leagues. Eric
Yeah.
Swanson he's so good. He's going to be fine. A lot of people have already given up on Eric Swanson. I'm going to be the first guy to say it. I still believe in him. And when he comes back better than ever, I'm going to say that I was always here on Eric Swanson's side. But I'll
I'm
let
with
you
you.
add to that quick.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you. I think Eric Swanson gets way too much hate. He had an absolutely electric season last year, and he had a ton of stuff really go wrong for him at the beginning of the season to sort of just really delay his start. It was just very, very rough. I don't want to rehash what he went through, obviously, but because it was very hard for him and his family. So I don't know. I sort of give the guy the benefit of the doubt. And yeah, Carter, like you said, when he comes back better than ever, we'll be laughing on this podcast.
Okay, so the two more things I want to get into quickly. Just again, ton of injury updates, just ton of updates about the Toronto Blue Jays. We didn't have a chance to talk about this either. Bo Bichette obviously has not played for 3 straight games. That is due to right calf soreness. According to John Schneider, he was feeling better today. We'll have to see how he is tomorrow. Hopefully, it's not much longer. Bo Bichette was available off the bench, but obviously this game just was kind of out of reach at that point. You're not going to throw in Bo Bichette when he's not 100%, especially for a game that you're down 4 runs in the 7th inning. Just not really a pulse there. And then the last guy, Yariel Rodriguez, has joined the Toronto Blue Jays, made a rehab start. I believe it was on Sunday, throwing 79 pitches over 3 innings. Again, that's not very efficient, not as the 10 Ks through 15 batters like it was last time. But again, a guy that has more upside than Bowden Francis. It's going to be interesting to see how they deal with that. I think we're both kind of on the same side with this. Is Yariel Rodriguez is our favorite to land that starting job. Again, just based off the upside, just what the contract, stuff like that. But his fastball averaged 93 miles an hour, topped out at 96, mixing a lot of sliders and curveballs. So I think he's scheduled right now for the Friday start, and that would be against the Cleveland Guardians. Tough team to come back against, definitely. But I mean, hey, if you want to test Yariel Rodriguez, there it is. I mean, you have Bowden Francis for a reason. Hopefully, Yariel Rodriguez can at least go 4 innings in that game. You have to throw Trevor Richards, Trevor Richards is going to be a higher leverage guy now, especially with all the bullpen depletion. But if you could throw Bowden Francis, do a 1-2 punch with Yariel Bowden, I'd definitely be fine with that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I can't wait to see Yariel back on the mound. I loved him at the beginning of the year. I thought he was a great addition and a great piece. So we'll see what he could do. Carter, you know what? I don't really want to drag this out any longer. I just need to see what this team does in response later today. So Chris Bassett, we'll see if he can absolutely shove on the mound. I'm praying for him. We need him after the sort of lackluster Yesui Kikuchi start. So yeah, Carter, I don't know your feelings about today's game. How do you feel?
Yeah, Tanner Houck, man. It's going to be tough to get to this guy. This guy's been one of the best pitchers in the league up to this point. You had a bad day against Nick Pivetta. You need a bounce back here. You really need a series win. Hopefully, you can get back to 500 here. They started off the Cleveland Guardians series, so I'm going to be a little bit more optimistic about this one. Started off the Guardians series with a very bad game. I was completely out. They got 3 hits. Hopefully, Nick Pivetta was the outlier in this series. Hopefully, they can get to Houck here. And if they can do that, I think they're going to have a very good chance against Bayo on the Wednesday game. But yeah, you got to start winning against the AL East here. These series are going to come back to bite you, especially when the Boston Red Sox being in the wild card race. I know it is early to look at that, but you're going to look back at these games and say, shoulda, woulda, coulda. You want to win these games earlier because it's only going to get harder as you get farther into the season.
Yeah, that's true. Carter, I'm just praying to God that this team can figure something out. And you know what? Every time when we went to Toronto, that was, I think, the first time that okay, you know what? We're here. They're going to do something. And then Skyler was at the games this past weekend, and I thought, okay, he's there. They're going to do something. And he sort of felt the same way. And then we watch the games during the week, and every once in a while, I'll get that feeling of, okay, this team's going to this is the game that's going to kick them into gear. And it just doesn't happen. So we'll see. We'll see. It's a very tough stretch of games here. So at the end of the day, I mean, I am praying. I don't know. I don't know what else to say, Carter. I need to look for the good Lord and maybe get on the hands and knees, do a couple prayers. I don't know.
So yeah, something's got to change. Something's got to give. They need offensive consistency, as we've been saying for 72 straight episodes or whatever it has been on this Toronto Blue Jays podcast. But just want to say thank you guys for watching. The likes, comments, everything is always appreciated. You guys being on this roller coaster of a Toronto Blue Jays season with us is appreciated. We definitely know that we're not alone, and thank God it's a lot easier knowing that we're not the only ones going through the struggle. We're here just along with you guys. Just want to throw it over one more time. Locked On 24/7 streaming channel, Locked On Sports Today, Amazon Fire TV's channel app, whichever one is more convenient for you. Might as well watch our experts analyze all these sports teams from across multiple leagues. Yeah, we have noticed that. I think it's 68, 69. I can't remember exactly what it is, but around 70% of you guys are not subscribed. You guys are always coming back, watching these episodes, supporting us. Just drop a subscription. It helps us a ton. It keeps us at the top of your page. And yeah, you'll never miss an episode if you guys are subscribed. You want to turn on the bell, that would be appreciated as well. Another way just to never miss our episodes. Hopefully we can turn this around, get a series win. We need something, man. I need hope. We need to get hope back, as was our big theme on yesterday's podcast.
Yeah, Carter. And another thing that I wanted to mention just before we leave, we have a big announcement coming tomorrow for all of you guys that consistently watch our videos. Some of what's coming is pretty hilarious. I got some input from a lot of people, so can't wait to tell you guys that should be coming out tomorrow, latest Thursday, but I'm praying that it is tomorrow. So just wait and see what pops up there. Carter, any last words?
No, let's get a series win against the Boston Red Sox. I'm sick of this AL East BS.